From 2007 to 2020, roughly 3.5 billion tourists visited U.S. national parks across the country. While most of these visitors expected a smooth and safe trip to America's beautiful park system, not all of them came out to tell their tale. In fact, in the same stretch of years, American national parks saw approximately 3,000 deaths countrywide, which is 8 deaths per 10 million visits to a national park. Yikes. On a less grim note, our national parks are some of the U.S.'s most celebrated natural sites of heritage and recreation, and given the rugged wilderness terrains inside each park, many visitors enjoy plenty of isolation, natural beauty, and challenging hiking while visiting these natural areas. For the same reasons, though, our national parks can be quite deadly attractions for visitors who show up underprepared or uneducated on the potentially dangerous wilderness these parks exist in. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the 10 deadliest national parks in the country and why these parks are particularly dangerous. Beginning with number 10, Grand Canyon National Park. Many would expect the Grand Canyon, one of the United States' most visited and cherished national parks, to be a bit higher in the countdown, but preventive measures taken in the park have actually caused the Grand Canyon to become safer over the years for its millions of visitors. Don't be fooled by this though, as this park is still one of the most dangerous in the country, with 131 amongst roughly 60 million visitors in the past 15 years. Deaths by falling off the side of the canyon from the top and plummeting hundreds of feet into the Colorado River below occur a handful of times a year at the Grand Canyon, but is surprisingly not the leading cause of death here. Instead, historically, vehicle and automobile crashes on steep, weathered, and unstable park roads have been the number one cause, with heat-related and hydration-related fatalities clocking in at number 2. To make the visiting public more aware of fall possibilities and other dangerous elements of the park, the rangers at the park have even hosted evening events and talks to spread beneficial information and awareness about the park's dangers. Next up at number 9 is Death Valley National Park, which is quite appropriately named for this countdown. Death Valley is the hottest place on Earth, with temperatures that consistently reach above 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Recently, in June and July of 2023, a massive heat wave at the hands of global climate change caused temperatures to reach an astounding 126 degrees in the park, unfortunately killing a handful of visitors who couldn't find any way to escape the intense heat. Much like the Grand Canyon, though, accidents and crashes are still the number one killer in this national park, combining the long stretches of desert highway roads with unbearable heat while driving through the park can certainly make for quite the dangerous task. Overall, though, Death Valley sees around 26 deaths per 10 million visitors, which, given the park's intense heat and environmental conditions, the death count could be expected to be much higher. Next up, we have California's Yosemite National Park. Yosemite is one of the country's most visited and most iconic parks, with countless famed trails and mountains such as El Capitan and the Half Dome. These trails and many other sections of the park feature pronounced cliffs, which in the past 15 years has been the number one cause of death in the park. With so many visitors and frequent careless behavior amongst guests near cliffsides, tragedy is sometimes bound to happen at Yosemite's cliffs. In fact, in 2018, a couple who traveled across America and frequently posted their adventures to their large social media following was found dead 1,000 feet below Taft Point, presumably after a selfie attempt went wrong. Furthermore, Yosemite has the highest quantity of deaths in the past 15 years out of any national park, with their deaths per 10 million visitors sitting at 28.01. Coming in at number 7, we have the Channel Islands National Park. The Channel Islands are a unique outdoor haven off the coast of Santa Barbara in California, and the park can only be accessed by either plane or boat. The park is relatively small but features plenty of unique wildlife, bluffs, and mountains for explorers to see. Being an island, the park naturally has plenty of access to water, so the number one cause of death here is drowning. Drowning fatalities accounted for an estimated 6 deaths in the past years, a pretty high figure for a park that only receives 300,000 guests or so a year. Additionally, the Channel Islands are quite remote and underdeveloped, so getting lost and falling off a cliffside, getting exhausted and suffering from natural causes, or lack of modern infrastructure and transportation all contribute to the risks of this park. We'll be sticking yet again to California for number 6 with Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. Similar to its neighbor Yosemite, Sequoia and Kings is a mountainous and rugged terrain featuring some of the oldest and tallest trees in the world, airy mountains, and plenty of isolated space to roam. The deaths per 10 million visitors here is a hefty 33.22, with falls accounting for nearly a third of all deaths here. Carelessness while on trail, at summits, and while trying to take pictures or selfies have been the main culprits to fall deaths at Kings and Sequoia. In 2021, a man fell to his death at the summit of Mount Russell, prompting the park to respond in a press conference on safe ways to recreate in the park in order to prevent further tragedies in their park. Moving on to the top half of our countdown, we have Big Bend National Park in Texas. Big Bend is a rugged and diverse park with landscapes including cactus-filled valleys, deep canyons, and high peaks and rushing rivers. In a park that seems very lively, forested, and diverse, guests often may be focused on the scenery around them rather than the extreme conditions of the Southwest Texas. The most common cause of death in Big Bend is heat exhaustion and other environmental effects. In a park where the temperatures in low valleys can reach above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it should come to no surprise that sometimes adventure goers at Big Bend sometimes take their exploring a bit too extreme and suffer the environmental consequences because of it. At number 4, we have Mount Rainier National Park in Washington. Mount Rainier is a massive monolith, jutting 14,411 feet into the air, so it should come to no surprise that in a park featuring such an iconic and tall mountain, that falls are the number one cause of fatality at the park. While a majority of visitors to the park are not looking to scale the entirety of Rainier, a large number of mountaineers attempting to tackle this 14er often find themselves in dangerous situations atop this active mountain. 51 deaths have occurred in the park in just the last 10 years, with a death per 10 million visitor rate of 37.72. The scaling of a mountain is without a doubt tremendous, as fall risk is larger on Rainier, as is death by environmental factors. Notably, in 2014, both factors contributed to the deaths of 5 climbers as a rock slide and avalanche conditions caused them to plummet to their deaths. Coming up at number 3, Virgin Islands National Park. The Virgin Islands National Park, which encompasses most of the island of St. John, is a unique national park for many reasons, one of which is the older populations that tend to visit the park via cruise ships. The park is quite tropical and mellow compared to the others featured on this list, so what's causing deaths here? Much like the Channel Islands of California, the culprit here is unsupervised swimming leading to drowning incidents. The Virgin Islands' older visitors who are accustomed to the luxury of their cruise ships have been found a rude awakening when taking dips into the beaches and waterways of this national park. Because of these factors, the Virgin Islands rank highly with a death per 10 million visitor rate of 39.94. Ranking in at number 2, we have the tallest mountain in North America, Denali, of Denali National Park and Preserve in Alaska. Alaska is truly the wild, wild west, and the state's massive mountains, isolated feel, and intense seasons make the whole state a challenge to traverse. For those looking to embrace the extremes of this state, a trip to Denali National Park is usually the answer. Climbers looking to explore the park or reach the peaks of Denali are greeted with intense environmental conditions, which are the number one cause of death at the park, with falls of underdeveloped and difficult trails being a close second. At Denali, the climate can be considered subarctic on the mountain all year long, meaning that freezing to death should be a primary concern in all seasons. Denali's death per 10 million visitors stat is more than 60 higher than third place Virgin Islands, totaling a massive 100.5 deaths per 10 million guests. Lastly, the most deadly national park in the United States is North Cascades National Park in northern Washington. North Cascades is a unique experience in the U.S. National Park system, as you don't need a park pass or entry pass to get in, and there are no clear entry booths. The trailheads and infrastructure here are quite spotty and is geared towards seasoned climbers and hikers who have a solid navigation plan and have climbing skills to make it through. Therefore, underprepared casual visitors find themselves in dangerous situations because of inexperience and poor infrastructure have caused the death of counts in this park to skyrocket much further than even Denali. Although the total number of deaths here appears somewhat low, the average annual visitor total in the park is only around 25,000. Yet still in the past 15 years, the park has experienced 19 deaths, making North Cascades the deadliest national park in America. While our national parks are scenic and beautiful on the outside, on the inside they're completely wild and filled with rugged and potentially dangerous wilderness to be explored intelligently and safely. So where will you decide to go on your next national park adventure?